Jake's heart pounded as the auctioneer called for the next bid. All eyes were on the prize horses, but his were fixed on the sickly mare no one wanted. The auction yard buzzed with activity. Farmers and traders haggled over livestock, their voices loud against the backdrop of restless animals. Amid the chaos, a frail horse stood tethered to a post, its ribs visible beneath its dull coat. Flies hovered around its sunken eyes, but no one paid the creature any attention, except for one boy. "That's the one," Jake whispered to himself, clutching the few bills he'd saved from months of odd jobs. At just 10 years old, Jake was the smallest figure in the crowd, but his determination made him stand tall. While others saw a horse ready for the slaughterhouse, Jake saw a spark of life waiting to be reignited. "You're wasting your money, kid," an old rancher sneered as Jake stepped forward during the bidding. The price started low and Jake's heart raced. He raised his hand, his voice trembling as he called out his offer. $10. Laughter rippled through the crowd. "That scrawny thing isn't worth the hay it eats," someone jeered. But Jake ignored them. To him, it wasn't about the horse's current state, it was about what it could become. When the auctioneer slammed the gavel, Jake's heart leapt. The horse was his. Leading the animal away, Jake felt a mix of pride and fear. The horse stumbled, its legs weak, but Jake spoke softly, "Don't worry, girl. I'll take care of you." He named her Star, hoping the name would bring luck to their unlikely partnership. As they walked the long dirt road back to his family's small farm, Jake's mind raced with plans. He'd need medicine, good feed, and a lot of patience. But how could he afford it? His family struggled to make ends meet, and his parents didn't even know about his impulsive purchase yet. When they reached the farm, Jake's mother stood on the porch, hands on her hips. "What on earth is that?" she demanded, her tone sharp. "She's ours now," Jake said, his voice firm despite the lump in his throat. "I'll take care of her. I promise." His father shook his head, muttering about wasted money, but Jake's mother saw something in her son's eyes. Reluctantly, she agreed to let Star stay for now. That night, as Jake laid fresh straw in Star's stall, he whispered, "You're going to get better. I'll make sure of it." Star nickered softly, and Jake took it as a sign of hope. He didn't realize the challenges awaiting them, nor the incredible journey they were about to embark on. The next morning, Jake woke before dawn. The first rays of sunlight spilled over the horizon as he hurried to the barn. Star stood unsteadily, her head hanging low. Jake's heart sank, but he refused to let doubt creep in. Armed with a bucket of water and a handful of oats he'd borrowed from the family's meager supply, Jake coaxed Star to eat. She nibbled at the oats reluctantly, her movements slow and labored. "Good girl," Jake murmured, stroking her neck. "We'll get through this together." Jake spent every spare moment caring for Star. He cleaned her stall, brushed her coat, and treated the sores on her legs with homemade remedies he'd learned about from an old library book. It wasn't much, but it was all he had. At school, Jake's teachers noticed his distracted demeanor. His grades slipped, and his friends teased him mercilessly. "Why bother with that bag of bones?" one boy sneered. But Jake shrugged off the insults. "You'll see," he said, his voice steady. "She's going to be amazing." One afternoon, Jake's father called him over. "Jake, this horse is costing us more than we can afford," he said, his tone firm but not unkind. "If she doesn't get better soon, we'll have to let her go." Panic surged through Jake. "Just give me a little more time," he pleaded. "I can make her better. I know I can." His father hesitated, then nodded. "1 month," he said. "But after that, we'll have to make a hard decision." Determined to prove everyone wrong, Jake threw himself into Star's recovery. He took on extra chores around the farm to earn money for better feed. He sought advice from the local veterinarian, who offered a few free tips after seeing Jake's unwavering dedication. Slowly but surely, Star began to show signs of improvement. Her coat grew shinier, her eyes brighter. She gained weight, and her once wobbly steps grew steadier. Jake's hope blossomed, but he knew the real test was yet to come. The month flew by, and Jake's determination burned brighter than ever. Star was stronger now, but Jake knew she wasn't fully healed. He needed a way to prove her worth, to show his father and the entire town that she was more than a lost cause. The opportunity came in the form of the county fair. A flyer pinned to the general store's bulletin board caught Jake's eye. "Youth Obstacle Course Competition. Open to all riders," it read. Jake's heart raced as he imagined Star navigating the course. The competition wasn't about speed or appearance, it was about trust and skill. If they could complete the course, it would silence the doubters once and for all. Back at the farm, Jake began training Star. The obstacles were makeshift, logs for jumps, barrels for weaving, and a tarp to simulate water. At first, Star balked at every challenge, her body stiff with hesitation. But Jake was patient. "You can do this," he encouraged, his voice steady even when frustration threatened to bubble over. The first time Star cleared a log, Jake whooped with joy. "That's my girl," he exclaimed, throwing his arms around her neck. From that moment, their progress was steady. Each day, Star grew more confident, and so did Jake. When the day of the fair arrived, Jake felt a mix of excitement and nerves. The fairgrounds buzzed with energy, and the obstacle course loomed ahead, a daunting series of challenges designed to test the bond between horse and rider. Jake led Star to the starting line, her coat gleaming in the sunlight. She looked nothing like the sickly horse he'd brought home a month ago. "You ready, girl?" Jake whispered. Star nickered softly as if to say, "Let's do this." The whistle blew and they were off. The first obstacle was a series of low jumps. Star hesitated for a split second before leaping gracefully over each one. The crowd murmured in surprise. Next came the weaving barrels. Jake guided Star with gentle pressure on the reins, and she moved fluidly, her trust in him evident. Halfway through the course they faced their biggest challenge, the tarp. Star froze, her ears pinned back. Jake's heart pounded. "You can do this," he murmured, stroking her neck. "I'm right here with you." After a tense moment, Star took a tentative step forward, then another. When her hoof touched the tarp, the crowd erupted into cheers. Jake's grin was as bright as the sun overhead. They completed the course without a single fault. As Jake dismounted and hugged Star, the announcer declared them the winners of the competition. Jake's father, watching from the sidelines, wiped a tear from his eye. "I knew you could do it, son," he said, his voice thick with pride. Star had proven her worth, but more importantly, she and Jake had proven the power of trust and determination. News of Jake and Star's victory spread quickly through the small town. Strangers stopped by the farm to catch a glimpse of the once sickly horse that had defied all odds. Star, now a picture of health and vitality, stood proudly in her paddock, her coat gleaming and her spirit unbroken. One afternoon, a man in a crisp suit arrived at the farm. He introduced himself as Mr. Caldwell, a representative from a nearby equestrian training center. "I heard about your horse, Jake," he said, his tone warm. "She's remarkable, and so are you. We'd like to invite you to join our youth riding program." Jake's eyes widened. "Really? But I'm just a farm kid. I don't have fancy gear or anything." Mr. Caldwell smiled. "What you have is heart and determination. That's more important than any gear. The program will cover all expenses. We believe you and Star have a bright future." Overwhelmed with gratitude, Jake turned to his parents, who nodded their approval. "Go for it, son," his father said, pride evident in his voice. Training at the center was a new challenge. Jake and Star had to learn advanced techniques and compete against riders with years of experience. But they tackled each hurdle with the same determination that had brought them this far. The bond between them only grew stronger, and Star seemed to thrive under the structured regimen. Months later, Jake entered his first regional competition. The stakes were higher, the crowd larger, and the pressure immense. As he and Star stepped into the arena, Jake felt a familiar surge of nerves. But one look into Star's steady eyes reassured him. "We've got this," he whispered. They performed flawlessly, earning a standing ovation and securing first place. Jake's journey from a boy with a dream to a champion rider inspired everyone who witnessed it. His story was featured in local newspapers, and he became a symbol of hope and perseverance. Back at the farm, Jake often reflected on the day he first saw Star at the auction. "You saved me as much as I saved you," he said softly, stroking her mane. Star nickered as if she understood. Together, they had overcome the impossible, proving that with love, dedication, and a little faith, anything was possible. Section 5. The Final Triumph. Months turned into years, and Jake and Star's bond deepened with each passing challenge. By the time Jake turned 12, they had become local legends. Star's recovery story was the stuff of inspiration, but their achievements in competitions were what cemented their fame. An invitation arrived one day that would change their lives forever. Jake was chosen to represent the county at a national equestrian competition. It was the highest honor for a rider his age, and the stakes were daunting. Riders from all over the country would compete, bringing their best-trained horses and years of experience. Preparation for the event was grueling. Jake and Star spent every free moment practicing. The course they would face was the most challenging yet, with obstacles that tested speed, precision, and courage. But Jake believed in Star and she believed in him. The day of the national competition arrived, and the arena was packed with spectators. Jake wore his lucky shirt, and Star's coat shone brighter than ever. As they approached the starting line, Jake felt a wave of nerves. "We've come so far," he whispered, stroking Star's neck. "Let's show them what we can do." The whistle blew and they took off. The first series of jumps were high and narrow, but Star cleared them with ease. The crowd erupted in cheers. Next came a tight weaving section that required perfect synchronization. Jake and Star moved as one, their trust evident in every step. The final obstacle was a towering wall that many riders before them had failed to clear. Jake's heart raced as they approached. "We can do this," he murmured. Star's ears flicked back and she surged forward. With a mighty leap, she soared over the wall, landing gracefully on the other side. The arena fell silent for a moment before erupting into applause. Jake and Star had done it, they had completed the course flawlessly. Tears streamed down Jake's face as he hugged Star, overwhelmed by their triumph. When the judges announced the results, Jake and Star were crowned champions. The medal around Jake's neck and the ribbon on Star's bridle were symbols of their incredible journey. As they returned home, Jake reflected on how far they had come. From a sickly horse and a boy with a dream to champions who had inspired an entire community, their story was a testament to the power of perseverance and love. Jake looked at Star, who nicked softly beside him. "We're just getting started, girl," he said with a grin. And with that, they trotted off into a future full of endless possibilities.